Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Ketubot daf Gimel, we are going to begin on the very bottom of Beis Amud Beis. We were discussing that when it comes to an ones, something which is beyond a person's control, after the 12 months and you were supposed to get married, but you didn't, but there was an ones, so you do not have to give mizonos, which comes to teach us that there are onsin when it comes to mizonos. However, ein oines beget, namely, that if there was something which is beyond a person's control, and because of that you weren't able to do such and such, so we'd say, oh, it must be that you don't have, the get didn't work. We said, no, the get still is chal, even though there was an oines which prevented you from whatever it may be, to let's say to get to a particular location. We say it doesn't make any difference. Ein oines to begin. The question is why, or where do we see that? So this is where we left off. Ela Rava Svara Denafshi Kaimer. He actually says a logical reason. Mishum Snuos Umishum Prutzos. Because there are different types of women. There are women who are modest, and there are women who are not so modest. So what exactly does that mean? So Mishum Snuos Di Amrit L'Loi L'Havi Get. If we would say that it's not a get, that, in other words, that there is such a thing as einsin begitten, and therefore his onus was a real accident or it was beyond his control. Sorry, it's not a get. If we would actually say that that would be the din as we continue to Gimel Amud Aleph, zimnin duloy onus. What happens if it really wasn't an onus and it was supposed to be 100? It is 100% a get. There was no onus at all. V'savra the onus, she in her mind thinks, oh, maybe it was an onus. So agna v'yasva, she's going to remain naguna, because he's not going to give her another get because he gave her a get already, and it was no onus. But she may not know. She's so snua. She wants to be 100% sure, and because of that, we want to make sure that that is not an issue, and therefore we don't want you want to say it doesn't make any difference. Under all circumstances, it's a get, so you don't have to worry, and therefore she'll be able to get remarried. Also, mishum prutzos. If we say it's not a get, zimna the honest, maybe there is an inus. She'll say, no, it wasn't an inus. And she'll end up getting married. If an imsa get bottle, the get was really bottle. She should not have gotten remarried. So therefore, because of that, the truth is maybe Me'ikar Adin, there is Oinsin Begin, which would mean that they are actually still married. But the Chachamim say, no, you're not married. So for the Gemara, Me'ikar Midid Dimidaraisa, Lo Havi Get Mishum Sinus Mishum Prutzos Sharina Neshas Ish Alma. How could the Chachamim do such a thing? How could they take a situation where they really are still halachically married and say, no, you're not married? Marriage is in. They have the authorization to do that. They do have the authority. Because Kol Mekanish had died at the Rabban Mekanish, V'yafkin Rabban L'Kadushimino. We saw this in Masechtas Yevamis. It's brought down many places that the Chachamim have the authority to be able to say that you are married Kadas Moshe Yisrael, and if not, then you're not married. So Amrli Ravino Ravashi, 1 second. Teina Kadosh B'Kaspa. I understand if you married with money, so Basin has the ability to take money away. Hefker, Basin, Hefker. Kaddish Babia Ma'il Kamemar. So Shamar Rabban Labiasa Biasnos. Fine. So the first lashon is telling us again regarding Gittin Enokain, which means that there is not an einus by get. And then we have a different lashon. Ikadiyami Amar Rava V'chein L'Einin Gittin. It's also by Gittin, which means Al Maksava Rava Yeshan is begin. There actually is an einus by get, and therefore, if a person has an einus, the get does not count. So on this, all the proofs that we brought in yesterday's daf, we're going to bring over here. Meisvei harizagitech zir get imol basi mikaviad shtei maser chaydish. If I don't come within 12 months, you meis b'sach shtei maser chaydish. The guy died, so enu get. Now meisu de enu get. The reason why is because enu get lachar misa. Mashma halchol harizag. But if he's sick, it is a get. Why? It must be because Einon is begin. So then why does it mention Misa? That's coming to teach us that din. And get lachar misa, hatanili ratio. Where do you learn that? Dilma lafuki midrabosenu, which doesn't explain what that is, but again, we saw this on the previous daf, that we say that then since the zman shtar is on the get, the time, so that's moichiach that it works l'mafreya, and therefore, according to them, actually, it would actually be a get, which is an important halachic ramification, because if the guy died, which is what happened, the question is she zakak liyavam or not? Okay. Tashma. So again, we're trying to maybe either ask a question or support this second lashon. That the get should be chal right now, unless I come. And he dies, how does I get? Because it worked on Mafreya. My love, who din l'chayla. Even if he was sick, nonetheless, we still see in the kasha that there is an ein to begin. Lo, meis davka. Maybe he only said this regarding in case he dies, because he does not want her to, his wife, as they don't have children, to fall to Yibam. Fine. Fine. Tashma. Miahudi oimelahu ilo asin mekad v'ad shloishim yoyim l'havigita. So also beside Tlasin Yom, and again he was really close, within 30 days. Or Paski Mavra, there was this ferry that separated between him and her. Yarmelhu chazad asoy, you're screaming, I'm here. Yarmel Shmuel lo yishmei masya. He's not considered to be there. So the question is, what do you mean? If he's not, it was an oinus. So obviously we see ein oinus begin. So Gemara says again, unsa the shchiach shiny. Here, this is a common oinus. Kivandi boyle lesnuye lo asni, since he didn't make this condition. Ihu deasid anafshe. Amar Shmuel bar Yitzchak lo shanu el matakanas Ezra ve'elach. The only time we say this din is only from the time of the takana and onward. Shin bate dinim kavuin el b'shini v'chamishi, because they only used to gather on Mondays and Thursdays. Of a kaidim takanas Ezra before the takana, shibati dinim kavuin b'chol yoyim, that they would be kaveh every day. So isha nises b'chol yom, a woman can get married any day she wants. It doesn't make any difference. Where it says, kaidim takanas Ezra mad havahava. Like, why are we even mentioning this? What was? Why do we need to know? Oh yeah, but before. What do we need to know about what is before? We want to know what the dinim are now. So hakikamer. I'ika bati dinim de kavuin ha'idna. Ki kaidim tekanas Ezra ishanisis b'chol yoyim. It means that if nowadays we have a beis din that convenes every day like they used to, then nowadays also they can get married any day. I b'habin and shakdu. But I thought we need shakdu. We said already that the shakdu chachamim, that we require 3 days of preparation so that this girl has a proper suda. So the Gemara says, okay, the Tariach lay, says Rashi, im tarach lefnei Shabbos. If you troubled and worked hard already before Shabbos, v'tikin sarchit suda kain tzavechad b'Shabbos or b'sheni b'Shabbos. So you do some of the preparation the week before. People get married; they don't wait until Shavuot Shechalbo to start preparing for their wedding. So same thing. So they start preparing before, and they can still get married on a Sunday or Monday. Well, it's not a problem. Okay. As we continue to Gimel Medbeis. So my shakdu. Now we already saw this, but the Gemara here is establishing what this means. The Sanya. Why does a girl get married on Wednesday? That if the husband says, hey, she's not a basula, then they can go to beis din. Correct the Gemara for that same reason. She should get married on Sunday because the beis din convenes on Monday as well. So Gemara answers, you're right, but there's a second reason why Wednesday is good. That they have a few days to be able to prepare for this, for the wedding. But then the Gemara says, from danger on, we'll discuss what that means. They used to get married on a Tuesday. The Chachamim did not protest this. On a Monday, you should not get married. Machmas einis mutter. If it's due to some type of an einis, which Gemara is going to explain, I don't know what that is, then it's allowed. And then it says, Umafrishin is a chasen min a kala. They separate the chasen from the kala, Leili Shabbos, the night of Shabbos, Tchil, Neshehu Oisa Chabura. We don't want them to have bia the first time on Shabbos because there's the potential of having a chabura, which is something which is us to make on Shabbos. So Gemara first understands what does it mean from the sakana on they get married on Tuesdays. So my sakana, if they said any girl who gets married on a Wednesday is going to be killed. So nagu lagamri nakri. What do you mean that they're accustomed to do this? They should be completely uprooting it to save people's lives. So maraba diamri besula hanisis b'yom ravi tiboy lehegmon tchilo. This is something that we find unfortunately throughout history, that they would say, oh, okay, any girl who gets married on Wednesday, the governor or this official will have be with her first. So Gemara says, "Hi sakana einisu." That's a sakana. That's an einis. Gemara says, "Mishum deikas nuos the masa nafshayla katala." The Iceland sakana, because these girls are going to end up not wanting to do this, and they'll actually end up taking their own lives, so they don't have to be with this guy. So shari. Why don't we tell them that it's an einish? Einis is beyond her control, and it's mutter. So on this Tosfos actually says, Al kol averis yavar val yahareg chutz me'avodas chachav and gorash v'chas damin. What do you mean it's mutter? It's gil yarayas. So that's one of the 3 cardinal sins. So there's 2 tirutzim, but Tosfos says, Lafisha isha he karka olam of the maisa. If she just is passive and doesn't do anything, which is probably the case because she obviously is not interested in this situation, so therefore it's not an isser. And this is how the Gemara explains also about Esther Hamalka. How is she, who is married to Mordechai, able to be with Achashverosh? Okay, so what do we teach them the Einis Shari? So Gemara says Ika Prutzos Ika Nami Kahanais. What does that mean? Says Rashi, Ika Prutzos Ti'im Makilinin Lahu Adi Baratzain Benesaras Al Balehen. If they actually have Tashmish Baratzon, then they will be ushered to their husbands. Or if it's a Kohanais, Shenesros Al Balehen, she's going to be ushered to her husband. Ach Ba'oinis. V'hinu Masr Nafshai Hu Misa the Ashes Kayin, the wife of a Kohen, Shenensa Sur Labal. So the whole din of the difference between Einis and Ratzon is only by Yisrael. But to a Kayin, she's considered to be no longer fit to be able to be married to her. And therefore, that actually is a problem. And therefore, is the reason why we end up pushing the wedding from Wednesday to Tuesday. Fact the Gemara, so akre. Why don't we just uproot the whole thing? It says Rashi, Hoyel b'zimnin di'ika sakana. Since there's sakana involved, we should just get rid of this whole Wednesday thing. Your answer is gezerah avida de batala. A gezerah is eventually going to be gone. But takanta de rabbanan mekimei gezerah lu akrinan. And this takana of the rabbanan came before this gezerah, so we're not going to uproot it. So we're going to keep this takana of getting married on Wednesday. But in the case that these are situations where there's a problem, so therefore we say get married on Tuesday. Ihachi b'shlishi nami yasi uboil. Eventually they'll say the same thing. Says Rashi Kivan diyada shehischilu linhag b'shlishi. Once they start seeing that we're getting married on Tuesday, they're going to still have the same rule now. So where it says misveika lo akar nafshe, they're not going to uproot themselves b'safek. Says Rashi Kivan delav kivias gomerhu alidei takanas based in sveikahi loy imiesh nesuan hayoim be'ir v'akar nafshi levo be'ir. So this higmoin is not going to come on some random day. He knows Wednesday is the day that everyone gets married, so he's going to show up and there's no one going to be married there. Now, even though maybe there's other days that they're going to say, maybe they're tricking us, so then all of a sudden they're not going to start coming every single day with the possibility of someone getting married on any other random day. And therefore, because of that, it's a way of still protecting. But if it was an einis, then it's mutter to get married on Monday. So my einis. Obviously, If we're talking about the case above, that of the hegemoin, so that's a case we establish as a sakana. Vasu hasam nahagu hacham mutter. Here it says a different language, so it must be a totally different case. So Amar Rava di Amri Sar Sava Bal'ir. What happened is that the army is coming to the city. Says Rashi, and like based on the quartering act, they'll end up sleeping in your house. They'll end up taking all your food. If they're coming and leaving, so La'akev, says Rashi, push it off. Ad Yom Revi Shel Shabbos Haba. If you know that they're coming, okay, so it'll be a little bit of a tircha for our community for a few days, but then they'll leave. The problem is that they're sticking around, and therefore that's the problem. So we gilmo mia lichnais. So get married on Tuesday. Why Monday? Is parva didei begilmo akasu, because his servants come on Tuesday. So even though the army will come on Wednesday or on Tuesday or whatnot, so other people come even before that to prepare everything. Okay. V'boy Sema, what's another possibility of getting married on Monday because of an oinus? My machmas oinus k'nesanya harshahaya pitu afui. Person's bread was baked. V'tivchot tavuach, they slaughtered all their meat. V'yenu mazok, the wine is already diluted, so they're all ready to get married. And umeis aviv shel chasen or ima shel kala. And then either the father of the groom or the mother of the kala die. So in this Rashi says chasen shemeis aviv b'sheni. If let's say he died on Monday, then yachal hamtin ad l'machar. Can't wait. We can't wait until Tuesday. Says Rashi. Shesarach Elisha says hameis ad shichnasul chuppah, because we'll need to delay the burial until they enter into the chuppah. So in this situation, we're going to see what to do. Rashi says davka nakat aviv shel chasen shu hatarech otzarech esuda, because the father of the chasen is matriach to make sure the meal is good. The imishal kalahi hamachina ula tachshitin. She's the one that prepares her daughter to be beautiful and to have jewelry and makeup, etc. So on this, if they die, machnisin is a mace cheder. We put the mace into a room. We marry the chasen kala off as we continue to dalet and aleph. Uboyel bilas mitzvah. They have bia upayrish, says Rashi. The kavaras a mace. They do the kfura for the person that died. V'noig shiva shemei mishteh. As difficult as it is, they have 7 days of rejoicing. V'achach noig shiva shemei avelus, and then 7 days of avelus. L'chol oisin yomim. In all those days, hu yashin bein hanashim. He sleeps among the men. He yashena bein hanashim, and she sleeps among the women. It says Rashi, v'ein misyachadim zeim zeh. They're not allowed to have yichud together. Shema yiboil. An avel is aser b'tashma shemita. This is brought down in Masechtas Moed Cotton. It says v'af b'shiva shemei mishta shein keregel noig hu avel shel divrei tzina dahainu iser tashmish. So even though it's during the Shiva Shemei Mishnah, you're not allowed to show signs of mourning publicly, but there is dinim of divrei tzina, which is tashma shemita. So they sleep separately. We don't hold back, even though she's an avelus, her tachshitim. As Rashi says, shotiz ganel balo. We want her to look beautiful in front of her husband. Now v'davka aviv shel chasin o ima shel kala, as we saw in Rashi, dolek inish to tarchahu. There's no one else that could step up for them. But the other way around, no. Okay, we're going to stop there, but let's, that will continue. Let's look at question 10. What oinus is allowed even on Monday? So one shot is the Amit Sarba La'ir, that the army is coming to the city, and therefore you can get married earlier, or the meis aviv shel chasen or ima shel kala v'imlo yakdimu. If you don't make the wedding earlier, yafsidu sarchet suda, then you're going to end up causing the whole suda is going to end up being lost. That was question 10. TA 17. Misakana va'elech nahagu b'shlishi madu lo darsh mem de'oinish shari. Why don't we just tell these girls that the fact that they're having tashmish with this guy, that it is mutter? And the answer is mishum perutzos, because ika perutzos v'ika nami kahanois, that they'll have tashmish b'ratzon. This is TA 17, and that's usher, or a bas kohen, or rather the ashes kohen, will be usher even b'oinus. Okay. So look at question 18. Sounds like we had this. Hari shahaya pito afoi umeis aviv shel chasen o avia shel kala im doichen es a chuppah. So it's actually, this is on Daled Amud Aleph. So we said that it's dafka, and it says here, v'dafka aviv shel chasen o ima shel kala doleka inish detarach lahu aval ivcha loy. That's TA 18. TA 18. Let's see what it says. Aviv shel chasen ein doichen. Uve'aviyah shel kala doichen ve'in oisen chuppah. We don't do the chuppah. Okay. TB 19. Harisha pitu afoy be'eza avelus makilin b'doichen havelus imnei shivi sumishem yemishna v'madua dafka be'elu. Your test. O mishum ba'aviv v'chasen o ima shel kala shem hatruchim masuda v'tachshitim v'lo yehelehem mi shetarach mar she'en kein b'shar velus adkan.